There we go. Hi. Alright. Hi everyone, I am SuperViperT302, and this is going to be Mario Kart 64 All Cups on the 150cc difficulty, and basically any glitch or shortcut is going to be fair game for this run. So, the good Jake word was supposed to do this run, but seeing as to how they are currently unavailable for whatever reason, I decided I would take over, so I'm doing this run instead. So, we're going to go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1, video games. Alright, so if you've never seen a speedrun of this game before, just know that this game is extremely broken. So I was actually trying to do a shortcut right there from the start. Since Yoshi is a lightweight character and DK is a heavyweight character, doing a start boost into DK and then jumping will cause DK to push me underneath the ground, and then I get ejected back up out of the ground and get a tremendous amount of height. And since that wall doesn't have, since the grass wall doesn't actually have collision in the English version of the game, I could actually go straight over the wall and make it into the tunnel below, but unfortunately I didn't get the right jump I wanted to get off of DK. But there is another shortcut I can try here. So this balloon, there is always, the item block on this balloon always gives you a blue shell, and the blue shell will aim for whoever's in first place, and since I'm in first place, I can use that to my advantage once I reach the end of this lap here. Nice banana placement there. So the main movement tech for driving in this game is going to be this drifting technique I'm doing known as mini turbos, where as I'm drifting, I'm oscillating the control stick back and forth at various intervals and building up the charge, so that when the smoke is colored orange, I can release it and get a small boost of speed. Alright. So that's a similar shortcut to what I was trying to do on lap 1. I basically just used the blue shell to send me flying over the wall. So that cuts off a good 12 to 13 seconds of the lap right there. If I was playing on the Japanese version, there's actually an even faster shortcut you can do, since that wall actually has collision on the English version, and you can use it to do some lap skips, but that is Japanese only, and I'm on the English version, so I can't do that. So that's one track out of 16, and already there's some pretty broken stuff happening. But we're going to get a little bit of a break from the crazy glitches for a couple tracks here, because now we're going to be moving on to Moo Moo Farm, where there are not actually... This and Koopa Troopa Beach, I think, are the two only tracks in the entire game where there are no known shortcuts of any kind. The design is just a little bit too simple, so all I really have to worry about in this track are the RNG-based walls that pop out, so I'm going to try to stay away from them as much as possible, but there's going to be a point later on in the track where I'm going to have to kind of go over the holes, and if I get unlucky and take the slightly wrong path, then I could run into one of them, and that could cost a couple seconds, like that. They're pretty annoying. So, I'll go ahead and explain some of the basics behind this game. So you're probably noticing that I'm playing as Yoshi. So Yoshi, Toad, and Peach are actually the best characters to use in the game, because they all tie for having the same fastest top speed, and they're all the lightweight characters. But there's a few reasons why I'm choosing Yoshi in particular. First of all, he's slightly heavier than Toad, which only matters when interacting with other characters, but the main reason I'm choosing Yoshi is just that on the character select menu, he's the quickest of the 3 characters to select. And since I'm going to have to go through the character select menu a couple of times, Yoshi's just kind of the easiest one to do. Bowser's Castle and Banshee Boardwalk, they do have shortcuts in tasks, and I think Bowser's Castle has one in time trials, but you're not going to be seeing that in this run. Also, that was a hilariously placed fake item box by me. So that was an interesting Moo Moo Farm, to put it lightly. So, yeah, you're probably going to see me get hit by a few items. The nice thing about items in this game is that the CPUs are relatively tame with them. They can pick up shells, but they will never throw shells. And the 8th place CPU only has a 1% chance of ever getting a lightning. So we do actually know what the item probabilities are in this game. There's a sort of a table listed for them, but... Obviously in RTA, there's little you can do to manipulate which items you're going to get, other than pressing the Z button to cancel the item roulette early, so not a whole lot you can do there. So Koopa Troopa Beach also does not have any major shortcuts. There is this tunnel jump coming up here, but that was obviously built into the track. So getting that saves a little bit of time. That would be allowed in no shortcut runs, as well as this glitch coming up here. So I'm going to grab this item box here and then drive by the finish line. So I didn't get a good item there, but you may have noticed that my position briefly changed from first place to 8th place and then back to first place. So there are certain polygons to the right of the finish line there, and this exists on several tracks, where if you drive over them, the game sort of deems you as being behind by a lap. And so if you can trigger the item you get is determined based on what place you're in, so you can only get specific items in specific places. So by manipulating the game to believe I'm in 8th place for a few frames, I can get an 8th place item like I just did there. So you cannot normally get a blue shell in first place, but using that glitch you are able to, sort of, but unfortunately I didn't get any good items from that. Optimally you want a speed item like a star or a golden mushroom. I got that shortcut 3 out of 3, that's nice. Now, the reason why item RNG is kind of important in this category is, the main reason is that there are going to be some shortcuts that require me to have specific items, and the first one is actually coming up right here. So, Calamari Desert has an interesting intended shortcut built into the game where the finish line's hitbox normally does not extend into the train track tunnel unless you have a star active, and this was an Easter egg shortcut that was intentionally built into the game. So I'm going to be able to take advantage of that. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as the race starts, I'm going to head up to this first set of item boxes, and I'm going to grab one of them and then backtrack into 8th place, and I'm going to hope I get a star here. Okay, blue shell I can maybe work with. Let's see what my next item is. Okay, that's not good. So I'm going to try to get a star. Red shells would also be pretty nice, but the big shortcut I want to do here requires a star. And you have a 30% chance of getting a star in 8th place, and that is the highest probability you can get for a star. But sometimes the game just does not want to be nice to you, as it is right here, classic marathon block. So I'll try farming again from these item boxes. Alright, I can maybe do something with these. I'm going to try to stay behind in 8th place. I meant to grab those item boxes on the way back, but it's kind of easy to miss item boxes. I do that pretty often. So let's try this again. I can use these red shells for a shortcut if I absolutely have to, but hopefully I can get a star right here. Nice. Classic. So I'm going to be able to actually show off both shortcuts here, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to head into the train track tunnels. I'm going to actually go all the way across. And then I'm going to fire these red shells right here, and you're going to notice they're going to get stuck by the fence. I'm going to activate the star, turn around, and the finish line is now extending into the tunnel, so I can cross the finish line. And now I can go back across it since this is lap 3 and it won't decrement my lap. And you'll notice that the red shells are just kind of still here. They're stuck against the railing, and I can just kind of use them to do this. Okay, I barely made it over. So that saves a good deal of time. And I reset the console after the last lap of the last race in every cup just to skip the trophy ceremony and the point screens, and so I can get to the next cup a little bit quicker. If I was actually trying to save the golden trophy to a cartridge, it wouldn't save. So this is Toad's Turnpike. The beginning of this track is probably going to look a little bit weird to you, but I trust you, everything is intentional. Nice. That's a very difficult trick to do. So what I just abused there is a mechanic known as the Laikitu effect. So while Laikitu is still on the screen after he picks you up, you're actually not able to be picked up again even if you do drive out of bounds. So what I did there was the first time I hopped out of bounds was intentional to set it up, and then once Laikitu placed me down, I had about a second and a half to freely roam out of bounds. And so that allowed me to basically jump from the higher level to the lower level. Now you're probably confused because I basically just jumped out of bounds as soon as I crossed the finish line, and I got advanced forward by half a lap. That is by doing that force shortcut in a very specific way. You're able to mess up checkpoint values, so that when you hop across the finish line when you hop out of bounds after crossing the finish line, it just messes up your position and thinks you're halfway through the lap. This wrong warp actually doesn't work on the earliest Japanese version of the game, but that actually doesn't matter because there's even faster checkpoints you can do, but again, I'm playing on the wrong version, so get to see this instead. It's still pretty cool, and these shortcuts still save a lot of time over over just playing the track normally. And I will admit, they are very, very difficult. Getting out of bounds in that fence is not easy at all. That was a very, very good toast turnpike. A 1:33 is a really good in-game time there for me. And one other thing I should probably mention is that during these point screens, I'm actually speeding them up by holding start and tapping the A button. Something a lot of people probably don't know, but you can kind of do that. Okay, so FRAPPE SNOWLAND has probably the easiest shortcut in the game, literally. You could try this at home if you wanted to. So I'm actually just going to turn around right at the start here. I'm going to head to the bridge, and then what I'm going to do is jump from the bridge to the snow here, and then cross the finish line and go out of bounds. So normally when you cross the finish line to increment your lap and then go back across the finish line, the game decrements your lap so that you don't, you know, just continuously skip laps. But by tricking the game into placing me far enough behind the finish line, the game actually won't decrement my lap. So by doing this in a very specific way, I can very easily clear all 3 laps in pretty much record time. Yeah, I finished all 3 laps faster than the CPUs were able to finish 1. Alright, the next track is definitely a mid-game run-ender for a lot of people. So CHOCO Mountain is going to be the first of 2 tracks in this run where I'll be utilizing wall jumps. So when you approach certain angled walls, if you jump... So Mario Kart 64 visually runs at 30 frames per second, but it does physics calculations 60 times per second. So essentially this game does run at 60 FPS. So there is a 1 or 2 frame window, depending on how you want to define it, where you can jump right before you hit a wall and get a jump off of it. I didn't hit the right spot there, but there is a backup jump I can go for right here. Alright, so what happened there was I got, 0 frames. So my speed was so high that on 1 frame I was in front of the spot where I could do the wall jump, and on the next frame I was past that point. And that makes the wall jump literally impossible to do, so you just kind of tumble like that. So not only are wall jumps frame perfect, but there is a sort of an element of luck to them, because it's pretty out of your control. So I'll be going for both of those jumps on all 3 laps here. The big wall jump, the hill jump, does save a lot of time, so hopefully I can get it at least once. Yeah, so yeah, getting tumbles like that means I might have timed it correctly, but it just wasn't supposed to work. There we go, so yeah, that... DK almost knocked me off there. So like I said, heavyweight CPUs do kind of bounce lightweight CPUs around a lot, so that was just kind of an example. There are some uses for that, like if you look at the All Cups TAS of this game by Drew Weatherton, which it's a little outdated now, but you should still check it out immediately after this run. There's a lot of popping off of CPUs to do massive shortcuts. The banana was in my way, made it a little bit tricky, so fortunately I wasn't able to show off the big wall jump there. I'm just going to drive normally. So, one kind of scary thing about the All Cups categories on Grand Prix mode is that you have to finish within the top 4 on a race, or else you actually have to redo the race. And obviously that would be a massive, massive time loss depending on the track. So, for this run, I'm just going to try to make sure I finish within the top 4 on every race. Alright, we just got one more track left in Flower Cup here, and that's going to be Mario Raceway. So Mario Raceway does also have quite a few shortcuts that are not version exclusive, including lap skips that you can do with red shells. Unfortunately, I am not very good at them, so we're going to be driving this track non-shortcut. So I'm going to be hoping to get mushrooms in this track, because there are some cool corner cutting techniques I can do if I have mushrooms, since otherwise the grass is too slow to drive across. Mushrooms are a 10% chance in first place, just for reference, which is actually not the lowest probability item you can even get in the game. Okay, there we go. Actually, you know what? This is a marathon, I might as well. So there is a shortcut I can try. I have not hit this shortcut in several years, but we're going to try it anyways, because why the frick not? Yeah, using a speed item, you can hop over that wall, but like I said, I'm not very good at any shortcuts here. So, I got these mushrooms, though. It was just RNG manipulation, so I could get those mushrooms. also get a boost here, that would also be nice, because the nice thing about using boosts is that you get invincibility frames from them, so I would have been able to kind of cut through those mushrooms there without getting hit by those piranha plants. Boosts in this game, by the way, they don't actually steal items from other CPUs if you're in a single-player Grand Prix mode, because they just act like a normal item box. So the items you can get from a boo are determined by your place, except you also have a 20% chance of getting nothing. Alright. Wario Stadium, this is normally the second longest track in the game, but with shortcuts it can be the absolute shortest, or one of the absolute shortest. So, the wall jump technique you saw me use in Choco Mountain, you can use it there to skip half the lap. And then you can actually jump right back over, and this jump back over is way, way more difficult. Again, it's a 1 to 2 frame window, depending on how you want to view it, and most of the time, it's literally impossible. So yeah, sometimes this just happens over and over, where you try to ram into the wall, and you just... I thought I was on the wrong side of the finish line there for a second. You get weird bounces like that sometimes too. So if you're wondering how I'm able to accelerate so quickly from a stop, when you're at a full stop and you tap the A button 3 times, you accelerate a lot quicker. It's a feature that the lightweights have that really benefits them. So 48 seconds was about, I'd say, 30 seconds off of a really, really good Wario Stadium, but for a no reset, that's still pretty decent. Okay, so the next track is going to be Sherbet Land. So there are shortcuts on this track, but they're really only applicable in time trials, and the shortcuts that are usable in Grand Prix mode that you see in the tasks just require ridiculous luck and incredible CPU jumps. So I'll be driving this track non-shortcut here. So really the only thing that has to be pointed out about the track is that these penguins, most stage obstacles like these penguins, they do move on global cycles. So if you drive the same way every time, then they'll be in the same spot every time. Although slight fluctuations in your driving can also lead to slight fluctuations in those cycles. So that is something you kind of have to keep in mind, and it's different the more experience you get. Okay. That banana was placed in kind of an inconvenient spot. Falling into the water on this track is especially bad because you get turned into a frozen ice cube, and the animation to break out of the water takes a couple of extra seconds. So it's an even bigger time loss here. So like I said, the CPUs can't throw shells and they rarely use lightnings, but they do love to place bananas in fake item boxes. The other thing about the CPUs is that their rubber banding is extremely broken, especially if they're not visible on the screen. Because if CPUs are not visible on the screen, they are constantly in a boost state. They can drive perfect 90-degree corners without slowing down, and in rare occasions, they can also drive through walls. So that doesn't, obviously that wouldn't happen a whole lot on this track, but you may see it happen on Royal Raceway, the next track, and it also happens quite a bit in Bowser's Castle. We're going to try to go for this swag finish here. Nice. So when it comes to non-shortcut tracks, the basic thing it's basic driving mechanics. You want to take optimal lines and also try to fit in as many mini turbos as possible in order to maximize the speed boost you get. Items are less of a concern in Grand Prix than driving. So Royal Raceway, we're going to get back to exploiting glitches, because that's just what this game is all about. So this is another track that has shortcuts that are faster than what I'm going to do, that aren't version exclusive, but I am also not good at them. So we're going to do the more traditional shortcut here. So you'll notice there was a polygon line on that wall I just hit, and by hitting just to the right of that polygon line, the game thinks I attempted that big jump from that ramp and missed for whatever reason, so it just paces me back on the ramp. And that cuts out about 14 to 15 seconds per lap. So doing that all 3 times would obviously be a massive time save. it's a little hard to do the shortcut without setting it up. Okay, that didn't work. So you actually want to see you actually want to be looking for the word poomp. If you don't see the word poomp when you hit that wall, it probably didn't work. So that worked because poomp appeared. So there are other shortcuts you can do, like for example on that ramp you can also take a cut off to the left and save about like half a second by landing in the water. And then the other bigger shortcut here is that you can actually use checkpoint manipulation and red shells to do lap skips by hitting yourself up onto the wall that's to my right, but it's ridiculously precise. And I kind of haven't practiced how to do it, so again we're just kind of doing things the more standard way here. Pollute the water for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Missing that shortcut on the second lap was actually kind of okay-ish because otherwise the CPUs could have been in my way on that jump there, which can be annoying. The CPUs also like to bump you around sometimes. Okay. So we just have one track left in the Star Cup, and that's going to be Bowser's Castle, so keep your eyes open for Marty in this track. He is the green thwomp that is behind bars. And Bowser's Castle also does not have any shortcuts that can be done in a Grand Prix mode yet. It is possible that we'll see some in the future, but for now, this track is just going to be non-shortcut as well. So I'm going to be holding this banana behind me. It's not as big of a deal on this track, but there are certain tracks like Calamari Desert, Yoshi Valley, and the worst offender of all, DK Jungle Parkway, that since I am playing on the Nintendo 64 copy, there's going to be a lag I have to deal with, and for some reason, zooming the camera out like this, it's very non-intuitive, actually reduces lag, and I'm really lucky I didn't hit that green shell there, because that probably would have knocked me over the wall. So whenever you see me have like a banana bunch, or a fake item box, I'll be holding Z, just to try to reduce lag in some of those tracks. And once again, these bumps are all on cycles, so if I drive roughly the same way every time, then they'll drive the same, then they'll be in the same places every time, but it's a lot harder to get consistent cycles on this track. Oh, that bridge is the thinnest driving section in the game that does not have guardrails to keep you on. Luckily, my position is back a little bit now so I can get better items. If I get a speed item, that can kind of nullify some of that time loss a little bit. There we go. Golden Mushroom is pretty nice. There are situations where a Golden Mushroom is not useful, though, but thankfully that has not come up yet. Right, should be able to go through the left side here. Yep. Again, this is another track where when the CPUs are off camera, they just kind of just act broken in this track, and most of the time you can't really tell because obviously you can't see them, but even if you're driving super well, CPUs can just kind of stay right on your tail on this track because of the ways they just kind of, their physics just kind of stop existing. Alright, that's the final reset of the run. Don't worry, I'm not resetting because the run's bad. I'm resetting just to get to the next couple a little bit quicker. And now we're on to Special Cup, where runs go to die. So here is DK's Jungle Parkway, and as I mentioned earlier, you can probably tell that this track is extremely laggy. Thankfully, you're not going to have to deal with the lag for very long, because this track also has massive lap skips that I can do in this cave. So the finish line extends out of bounds, and this wall doesn't have collision for whatever reason, so I can just kind of drive through it. Alright, I was too far to the left there. What I'm trying to do is cross the finish line without going over that section of the floor and then land back in the cave. And that will allow me to effectively skip a lap. There we go, that's much better. So I just gotta do that 2 more times and the race will be over. You don't actually have to land back in the cave, but it is a little bit faster if you do. So this is fine. Landing in the water here is, the lap skip is still gonna work. It's just a little bit slower. Yeah, sometimes like YouTube kind of messes up the putting you down like that. It's kind of weird. just gotta do that one more time. Alright, there we go. And I got a golden mushroom, so I can just kind of zoom to the end here. Apparently I didn't split on an earlier split, so whatever. Yeah, as you can tell, that track can also be completed fairly quickly. So Yoshi Valley is up next, and there are quite a few different ways you can go about completing this track, depending on what items I get at the start here. So I'm going to head up to this first set of item boxes, and we'll see what I get here. Alright, that's not what I wanted. So I was actually aiming for triple mushrooms, because then I would have been able to do a particular lap skip 3 times. So I'm going to do a slightly altered route here. So I'm actually taking the right path, which is actually, for known shortcut, the slowest path in Yoshi Valley. But it messes up certain checkpoint values in such a way that when I jump over this undefined polygon here, where the finish line happens to be next to, it counts as completing a lap, and then I also get put forward near the end of my next lap, so that ends up saving quite a bit of time here. And hopefully Wario doesn't mess me up here. He has a star active, so if I accidentally run into him, that's a problem. I can actually use this star I have here for a lap skip at the end of lap 3. So there's a 1,000-unit sphere surrounding the finish line that governs whether or not you have to stay inside. I guess it governs whether or not you're able to... It governs whether or not you're what lap you're currently on, and I just barely am able to get outside the finish line by performing that jump there. And so that allows me to basically skip an entire lap there as well. Alright, so the second to last track in this run is Banshee Boardwalk. Once again, no RTA viable skips that are to be implemented here. This track is just going to be a lot of driving around. It's very easy to run into bananas on this track, and as a result fall off. But overall, this track doesn't really have a whole lot going for it. The next track, however, is going to have a lot going for it, so I am going to be kind of paying attention to the CPU rankings, because Bowser is in the top 4, and he's a heavyweight character. So, if he comes into first place and I get third place by some chance, then that would enable me to do a sort of cool CPU jump at the start of Rainbow Road. However, there has been, within the past year, there has been a new variation of a lap skip that has been discovered on Rainbow Road that I've actually only recently learned, and I am going to try in this marathon, but I have never ever attempted this in a run before, so this is going to be kind of experimental. So it's either going to go horribly, either going to go really, really great or horribly wrong. But we'll have some fun with that, because why not? This run's not on PB pace anyways. So far, actually, this track has been relatively tame, but I hear the CPU's coming. The CPUs do have other mechanics to the rubber banding. For example, when you actually select your character, the game also selects 2 other characters to be determined, known as your rivals, and those characters actually drive much better and rubber band better than all the other characters. Right, so I could wait for Bowser to finish, but I'm actually going to spice things up a little bit here. Alright, so Rainbow Road is going to be another track where I'm just going to kind of drive backwards at the start here. So I'm going to go to get some item boxes, and I'm going to hope for either red shells or a blue shell. And triple red shells is a 20% chance in every place that isn't first place. But there are also other items like a star or golden mushroom or lightning that I can get in 8th place. So we're just going to kind of see what happens here. Either I'll get triple red shells right away, or we'll be stuck here for about a minute. Let's see how the game wants to behave with me today. Alright, got triple reds relatively quickly there. So I'm going to try to use these for a lap skip. Double triple reds, that's very, very good. Alright, we're going to try this. I've never tried this in a run before. Nice, I hit it. So I'm gonna wait for Yoshi's position here to sort of update to be further ahead, like that. And now I'm actually backing up. So this course is so tall that I can actually back up underneath that 1,000-unit sphere, and that allows me to skip laps. So I'm gonna try to do this a couple more times and finish the race relatively quickly. I'll wait here. Right. If I can get this last one, this will be a really, really good Rainbow Road. Oh, a little too far ahead there. Right, this might work, I don't know. I have to be in front of the finish line when I get knocked off there. Alright, this should be fine. So time is going to be coming up here pretty soon, assuming this works. Nice, time. That was a really, really good Rainbow Road. Oh my god. Again, that's the first time I've tried that shortcut in a run. So that was very, very solid. So yeah, 30:27, that is exactly 1 minute off my PB. That was a interesting run. So yeah, that was Mario Kart 64. I hope you enjoyed that run. If you want to get into doing time trials for this game, you should definitely check out MarioKart64.com. And I don't particularly run time trials, but we still have a very, very active community. And definitely check out the world record for this game as well. It is insane. There's a lot of shortcuts that I didn't even get to show off here. So that's it for me. I'll be back tomorrow with a couple other runs and throw it back on over to the host.
Thank you very much, Ryder. It was amazing. Congrats on getting really close to your PB there.
Thank you.
Alright, and up next we have the Retro Games block, starting off with, let me check, Spider-Man and the X-Men's Arcade Revenge. So if you like games like that, we're going to have a lot of jam-packed action just for you.